Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. A lot of women think when a man steps back, slows down, gets quiet, that he's avoiding you. You think he's losing interest. You think he's fading out. You think he's done. But listen to me, if a man does this, he ain't avoiding you. That man is falling in love. When men fall in love, they often don't show it in the ways women expect. Many women assume that love makes a man more expressive, more talkative, more available, but the truth is different. When a man's feelings reach a deeper level, something shifts inside him. The emotions hit him harder than he planned, and instead of moving toward the woman with excitement, he steps back with confusion. This doesn't happen because he wants to avoid her, but because he suddenly realizes the depth of what he feels. For a man, love is not just an emotion, it is a responsibility, a weight, a shift in identity. When he realizes he's falling for someone who matters, his natural reaction isn't to rush forward, it's to slow down and think. He needs that space to understand what these feelings mean, how they might change his life, and what role he must play if he chooses to step fully into that love. Men are raised to be protectors, decision makers, providers, and leaders. These expectations settle deep in their minds from a young age. So when he starts caring for a woman on a level that feels serious, he doesn't just think about romance. He thinks about his ability to protect her heart, the stability he can offer, the kind of future he can build. Love makes him evaluate himself in ways he rarely does. He wonders if he's enough, if he's ready, if he can be consistent, if he can be trusted, and whether he can meet the needs of the relationship. These thoughts don't make him pull away out of disinterest. They make him pull away out of caution. He doesn't want to step into a role he can't fulfill, and he doesn't want to disappoint a woman he respects. So he pauses to check himself emotionally, financially, mentally, and spiritually, because he knows a good woman deserves a man who is sure, steady, and stable. Another reason men step back when they fall in love is because vulnerability is uncomfortable for them. Love requires a man to open up, to let someone see his flaws, his fears, his insecurities. This level of emotional exposure can feel overwhelming. He may act distant because he's fighting with his own walls, the same walls he built to protect himself for years. His feelings are growing faster than his comfort zone, and he needs time to process how much power you suddenly have over his heart. Being vulnerable is not easy for men, especially those who have experienced heartbreak, betrayal, or emotional disappointment. So his silence is often a sign of internal conflict, not emotional withdrawal from you. And even during this space, a man who truly cares will still show signs of love. His actions may become quieter, but they stay consistent. He still checks on you, still cares about your well-being, still pays attention, and still gives effort even if he needs moments alone. This balance is his way of managing overwhelming emotions while keeping you close. When a man steps back because he's overwhelmed by love, it is not the beginning of an ending. It is the beginning of something deeper forming inside him, something he wants to honor, protect, and grow into slowly but completely. When a man is falling in love, one of the most misunderstood behaviors is his need to step away and spend time alone. Many women misread this as avoidance or disinterest, but in reality, it's the exact opposite. Men process emotions differently. Where women talk, express, and share, men retreat inward so they can understand what is happening inside them. When his feelings become serious, he feels a sense of responsibility toward you. He begins to see the relationship not just as something fun or romantic, but as something meaningful, something he must protect. And protection for a man often begins with thinking things through by himself. That quiet time is not about creating distance from you, but about creating clarity within himself. He needs to evaluate his emotions, measure his actions, and make sure the way he moves toward you is intentional and strong, not careless or impulsive. A man who is in love becomes more aware of his decisions. Suddenly, every word he says matters. Every action has weight. Every move feels important because he doesn't want to mess up something that feels valuable. So he pauses, he reflects, he steps back not to exit the relationship, but to avoid causing harm. He wants to be sure he's giving you the best and not allowing his fears, doubts, or insecurities to leak into something good. This protective instinct is often misunderstood, but for men, it is deeply real. When a man cares, he becomes cautious, and that caution shows up as quiet moments where he thinks about the direction of the relationship and the role he wants to take in your life. During this alone time, he might replay conversations in his mind, think about the future, or question whether he's ready for what he feels. Not because he doesn't want you, but because he wants to do right by you. He thinks about how to provide emotional stability, consistency, effort, and long-term support. He may wonder if he is capable of being the man you need. These thoughts can be overwhelming. Men don't always have a clear blueprint for how to handle love, especially if they have been hurt before or have been taught to hide their emotions. So instead of expressing their confusion out loud, they retreat to sort through it in silence. His alone time is really his emotional workshop, a place where he fixes, builds, and strengthens himself so he can come back to you more ready than before. A man taking time alone also shows a level of emotional maturity. Instead of reacting impulsively, instead of letting fear dictate his behavior, instead of rushing into something without preparation, he steps back to analyze and understand. This is how men regain their emotional balance. They don't want to bring chaos into a relationship they care about. They want to come back with clarity, intention, and confidence. So if a man needs a moment to himself when his feelings grow strong, it's not abandonment. It's preparation. It's not distance. It's alignment. It's not avoidance. It's love taking shape inside him in a way he can handle, manage, and eventually act on with purpose and devotion. When a man goes quiet or seems distant while he's falling in love, most women instantly assume he's losing interest, but often the truth is far more emotional than it looks. Silence for a man is not always a sign of pulling away. It's a sign of heavy thinking, deep feeling, and fear that is louder than his ability to express it. Men are not naturally trained to talk about their emotions. From a young age, they are told to be strong, to hold things in, to fix problems alone, to never show weakness. So when love enters the picture and starts touching the places he has kept guarded, he doesn't know how to react. He becomes quieter, not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much and doesn't want to reveal how shaken he is by those feelings. His silence is his way of managing a heart that suddenly feels exposed, a sense of vulnerability he's not accustomed to showing, and emotions that are stronger than he expected. When a man's feelings grow deep, he starts to overthink. He questions whether he is good enough, whether he can handle a serious relationship, whether he can meet your expectations, and whether he can give you the kind of love you deserve. These thoughts create pressure inside him, and instead of expressing this pressure verbally, he chooses silence to process it in his own way. He carries the fear of being judged, misunderstood, or seen as weak if he admits he's struggling with emotions. So he stays quiet until he can sort it out internally. Silence becomes his emotional shield. It's how he calms the storm inside and tries to understand why he feels so drawn to you, so affected by your presence, and so invested in your happiness. A man who is indifferent won't think this deeply. A man who is losing interest won't make himself quiet out of emotional overwhelm. Only a man who feels deeply is shaken into silence. His silence is also a sign of respect. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing while feeling this much. He doesn't want to react out of fear, insecurity, jealousy, or confusion. He wants to protect the connection, not damage it with words spoken in moments of emotional uncertainty. Many men become careful the moment they realize their feelings are serious. They slow down their communication, not to create space, but to prevent mistakes. He is trying to understand how to love you properly, how to show up for you, how to be consistent, and how to keep the relationship steady. That kind of thinking requires space, time, and quiet reflection. Silence becomes his planning phase, not his exit strategy. And even in silence, a man in love shows signs of care. He checks on you, stays consistent in the small things, shows up when needed, pays attention to your emotions, and makes sure you feel valued. His actions stay steady even if his words pause. This is the difference between a man who is losing interest and a man who is falling in love. One disappears, the other stays present, just quieter. His silence is not the absence of love. It is the echo of a heart trying to understand how deep it has gone. It's not rejection. It's emotional overload. It's not avoidance. It's fear of losing something meaningful. It's the quiet before he steps toward you with clarity, certainty, and devotion. When a man is falling deeply in love, something powerful happens inside him that many women overlook. He becomes more careful. This carefulness isn't distance, it isn't disinterest, and it isn't a sign that he's pulling away. It is the opposite. A man who doesn't care will move recklessly. He will speak without thinking, act without concern, and behave without considering consequences. But when his feelings for a woman become real, When he starts seeing her as someone he could build a future with, his entire approach changes. He becomes intentional. He becomes thoughtful. He becomes cautious with his words because suddenly what he says matters. He becomes cautious with his actions because he knows they affect someone he genuinely cares about. This carefulness comes from a place of love, respect, and a desire to show up properly. Men know that once emotions get serious, mistakes can hurt more, misunderstandings can cut deeper, and careless behavior can destroy something beautiful. So he slows down, not because he wants to leave, but because he wants to get it right. A man in love becomes careful because he is aware of the impact he now has on your heart. He watches his tone, he pays attention to your feelings, he listens more closely, and he tries to avoid disappointing you. This shift in behavior is subtle, but it is powerful. He may double check his plans, think twice before making decisions, and try to make sure that his actions align with his intentions. That level of cautiousness is a man's way of saying, "You matter to me more than you know." He also becomes careful because he's afraid of losing you. When a man realizes he cares about a woman in a serious way, he becomes protective, not just physically, but emotionally. He doesn't want to say something reckless out of anger. He doesn't want to make promises he can't keep. He doesn't want to create insecurity or confusion. Instead, he becomes more deliberate, more steady, and more mindful. This is not the behavior of a man withdrawing. It is the behavior of a man who sees value in the relationship and wants to honor it. Many women mistake this carefulness as hesitation, but truly it is commitment forming quietly inside him. A man in love will also become careful with how fast he moves. He doesn't want to rush something meaningful. He wants to build it step by step so it lasts. Even if he feels deeply, he controls himself so emotions don't make him act impulsively. He's thinking long term. He's thinking stability. He's thinking partnership. And that thinking makes him slow down in the best way, not to delay, but to protect the connection as it grows. And even when he's careful, he doesn't stop showing up. He still invests time, effort, consistency, and attention. His carefulness never removes his presence, it shapes it. He is cautious because he sees you as a woman he doesn't want to hurt, lose, or mishandle. This careful behavior is one of the strongest signs of genuine love because only a man who truly cares becomes intentional with how he loves. When a man starts pulling back not because he's losing interest, but because he's actually planning his next steps, it reveals a completely different side of how men handle love. Women often expect love to make a man move closer, talk more, and act more affectionate. But for many men, when their feelings deepen, they begin thinking about the future in ways that are serious, deliberate, and strategic. This planning can look like distance, but it is actually preparation. A man doesn't plan for a woman he's unsure about. He plans for the woman he wants to commit to. When his emotions become real, he starts imagining what life with you could look like, how to make you happy, how to create stability, how to protect what the two of you are building. These heavy thoughts make him quieter, not uninterested. He's not pulling away, he's focusing.